What's up everybody, Alan Cortez here, and in this quick training I wanted to talk about the 5 stages of gym ownership and how to transcend to the next level. Now, the reason why I decided to make this quick training and just get your thoughts going and see what some of the goals, obstacles, and what success looks like at different stages in fitness business ownership is because I talk to a lot of different people from all walks of life, all different stages of gym ownership, and it's just good to get a baseline of where you're at and where you're trying to go, and just predict obstacles and predict what's going to hold you back from getting to the next level, getting the life of your dreams, whether that's time and financial freedom, just being able to take more vacations, or maybe just be a local authority and have huge impact in the community. Whatever it is that drives you personally and on a business level, we just got to make sure that we're taking the right steps toward progressing and transcending to the next level, right? So stage 1, and really stage 1 I define as that beginning stage. You're probably making somewhere between $0 to $3,000 a month. You probably don't have your own location yet. Maybe you're working as a personal trainer, training one-on-one clients, or maybe you're just working or training out of another facility and you have your own clientele, and that's how you generate revenue, and you're kind of getting your feet wet, so to speak. Now, some of the goals at this stage are basically committing to consistent client results, right? Before you transcend to generating more revenue and getting more clients, you want to make sure that the clients that you do work with, you want to make sure they're getting great results, and you have a predictable way in how you get them results, right? And this is also going to be kind of the stage where you're working with different types of clients. You're working with all sorts of demographics, age groups, different physical activity levels, right? And you're just trying to find the group of individuals that you resonate with, that you feel compelled and passionate to help and to serve. Because that's one of the foundations to growing a successful business is you got to have passion. You got to enjoy what you do 80% of the time, right? Not everybody loves what they do 100% of the time, because if that were the case, I'm going to call it BS. It's probably more like 80%, and then there's some headaches that come along the way, right? The other 20%, it's natural. And then next is you want to just be able to confidently charge something that is worth your time and energy. And when I say charge something, I mean specifically, charge rates for different packages, or for a transformation, or for the results that you're going to get for clients, and be confident in it. Because a lot of times I see when trainers are starting out, they're not confident in what they charge. And what happens is, you're basically trading time for money, and you need more clients to make ends meet. And that really just stems and comes from just mental limitations and just lack of confidence. But the confidence comes when you're able to get clients results consistently, right? Then you slowly start to increase your prices, right? You're not going to go from let's say $40 a session because you're not as confident to $100 in 1 month, right? If you're going to be charging premium prices, you're going to want to deliver premium results, right? That's the philosophy behind it. And you want to learn how to get your first clients organically, right? So, a lot of times people want to jump right into the Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, Twitter, whatever. And before you dive into all that, because marketing is another beast in itself, is you just want to focus on getting clients organically, whether that's training the first 1 or 2 clients for free just to get your feet wet, and then on the third one you start charging and slowly start increasing your prices as you gain confidence. That's fine, and some people are going to have different opinions on it, but I feel like the first 1, maybe 2, it's okay to just get your feet wet and just get all your systems and how you deliver client results down and organized. And ultimately the other obstacle is going to be packing your schedule full, right? And that comes with getting clients organically. So just focus on organic ways to get clients, whether that's posting on social media consistently. You have a little bit more time so that you provide value to the target demographic that you're looking to work with, and just reach out to them, initiate conversations, and be friendly, and kind of go that way. And it's going to take you a little bit longer, but as you improve the business and just improve what you're doing, and you're getting clients that way, as you go through it, you're going to gain more confidence. So some obstacles that are going to come by your way when you're at the $0 to $3,000 per month mark is, really just being able to sell. And a lot of people don't like the word selling because it's sleazy. They associate it with used car salesman, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? But that's not the case. You know, when you learn how to sell, you basically help bridge the gap between someone's problem and their desired situation. And what you're doing basically is you're the bridge between those two. You are providing the service that helps, you know, client A achieve transformation B that they want, right? That's ultimately what you're doing. And, you know, from there, you're going to want to minimize trading time for money, right? That's going to be another obstacle. If you're just trading time for money and basically what you're doing is packing as many clients as possible, but then you're working from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., it's going to be really hard to let go of those clients, sustain, you know, your lifestyle and your bills and everything that you got, and try to scale at the same time. It's just going to be crazy because the only thing we can't make more of is time. You have a fixed amount of time during the day. You want to use this strategically. And then from there, right, the other thing that you're going to want to really focus on is not being a one-person show, and that comes with the territory of, you know, just trading time for money. So you're going to be a one-person show. It's going to suck for a little bit, probably working 10, 12 hours a day, but you have a clear vision of where you're trying to get to next, whether that's, you know, to 10 grand a month, or maybe open up your own location. You're just going to want to, you know, you're going to have to suck it up for a little bit. It's going to be a little bit of a grind, but have thoughts in mind that when I get to this level, when I get this many clients, that I'm going to add, you know, this sort of help, or I'm going to leverage my time this way, or maybe I'm going to, you know, raise my rates a little bit and not take as many clients on a back-to-back schedule, right? And what is success like? What does success look like from $0 to $3,000 per month? Well, ultimately here, you're going to want to get crystal clear on who you help and what you specialize in. So that's kind of like the value statement. That's the way that I like to think about it. So, you know, it's who you help, the problem of the target demographic that you're trying to help, the desired result that they're looking to get, and ultimately the solution that you provide to bridge that gap. So an example of that would be specializing in working with women, right, in the weight loss niche. So they're looking to lose weight. Maybe it's could be something like, you know, I help women in their 30s and 40s lose 10 to 20 pounds in 8 weeks or less with only 30-minute workouts. Right? And all of this is going to be derived from you understanding your demographic, what they want. You know, 30s and 40s, those ladies are busy, they're moms, they have kids. And if you can provide them the results that they want in 30 minutes or less, you know, 3 times, 4 times a week, they're going to want to work with you because you specialize in working with people who are in their exact same situation, right? You see how that kind of starts to click? And, you know, from there you want to have a proof of concept, and a proof of concept is ultimately your ability to deliver results to that specific demographic of people that you work with, like clockwork. So it's almost like a machine, right? Person A comes into the machine and they come out as B, right? Obviously, you know, human anatomy is not a machine. Human physiology is going to vary a little bit, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to say there. And ultimately, you know, at this point, you're going to want to be working full-time in the fitness industry. It's not like a side thing that you're doing. It's not a side hustle. Like, you're committed to making this thing a reality, and you're working, you know, on it most of the time during the week, right? And ultimately, the goal here is to get your roster full, right? The clients that you work with, at least, you know, 5 to 6 days a week. You know, you're busy, whether that, you know, doesn't necessarily mean you're busy 24/7, you know, 5 to 6 days a week, but you're, you know, you have a good amount of clientele in the morning and the evenings, and you got some wiggle room in the middle to work on, you know, your plan and getting to the next level. And then from there into stage 2, that's when we're getting closer to that $3,000 to $10,000 per month mark, right? That's stage 2. And at this point, you're probably, you know, gonna want to open, or you have already opened your own fitness business, and you want to understand the fundamentals of operating a fitness business, right? Those are some of the initial goals that we want to hit. And you want to focus on lead generation at this point. And what I mean by lead generation is not like lead generation 1 client a week, like making sure that you're generating leads, you know, 1 to 3 leads every single day, 5 days a week, and you have the opportunity to sit down with prospects and show them the value in what it is you do and sign them up for your packages or your group classes as members. And that's so important because whenever you're looking to scale, you need a consistent flow of leads coming in, number 1. Number two, you need to have a predictable way to sign them up. And number three, you have to have a even better way of delivering results, right? And giving them a good experience. And from there, basically, the other thing that you're going to want to focus on is time management, right? And what I mean by time management, it's not so much managing the time, but it's focusing with the time that you have, right? We all have 24 hours in a day, and why is it that some people are able to do so many things back to back, day to day with only 24 hours? Well, it's not that they create more time or they have some magical formula, they simply just focus. And what does focus mean? Removing distractions. How do you remove distractions? Put your phone away so you can't hear it. Don't get pop-up notifications on your computer. Don't get pop-up notifications on your phone. Have a plan and agenda of what you're going to work on every single day that's strategic, that's going to get you to the next level, and only work on those things during the allocated time that you have available. Now, this is something that I've been working on personally, but to be honest, it's harder in theory. It's harder in practice than it is in theory, but as long as you're trying your best and you're keeping track of your progress, and just being able to focus, you're going to get to where you want to go, right? And then from there, ultimately you want to find which recurring revenue model works best for you. That meaning what I mean by that specifically is like EFTs and getting reoccurring monthly charges either on memberships or with the training package if you're doing personal training, where after 3 months of them working for you, they working with you, they automatically get rolled on to a monthly EFT. Maybe it's a little bit more or a little bit less than what they're paying you to train, right? So work something out. And ultimately, the last thing you want to do is, at the end of every month, feel like you have to sell to clients that you already have over and over and over again. It just makes that process a lot smoother, and it makes the income that you're going to generate more predictable, right? And why is income that's predictable important? Because ultimately you need cash flow. You need to be able to pay the bills and have cash in the bank to be able to invest in things like paid advertising, marketing, equipment improvements, hiring and training a team, different things that at the end of the day, you can put it on credit, but at the end of the day, there's going to come a point where you're not going to have enough cash to sustain the credit, and you're not going to be able to pay your bills, and we don't want to do that, right? So, obstacles, right? What are some obstacles that are going to come when you're at this stage of a fitness business and stage 2 into the journey? $3,000 to $10,000 per month. And we talked about them, a lot of them already, but it's basically figuring out how to get clients consistently and just implementing a machine and a system that generates appointments through marketing, right? Appointments with prospective clients on a consistent basis. And ultimately fine-tuning your sales process. Every time you level up and you get to the next stage, you always want to keep improving your sales process, because it doesn't matter how much money you spend on marketing. If you can't convert prospective members into actual paying clients, then the marketing dollars are going to go to waste, right? And ultimately at this stage, it's a lot of struggle still. It's a lot of hustle. You're still working a lot in the business, sometimes 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. So with a lot of wear and tear and investing a lot of time and back-to-back days, it can get a little overwhelming, and naturally what's going to happen is you're going to start having limiting beliefs, right? So just limiting beliefs being like, what if it doesn't work out, or I don't know if I can get to the next level, and just doubts that come along the way of the journey of entrepreneurship for anybody, really. And you're going to want to just practice on not focusing on the limiting beliefs, but practice focusing on what your lifestyle is going to be like when you hit your goals, the awesome experience and the results that your clients are going to get, the value, the impact that you want to have in your community through, health and fitness, and just work on those limiting beliefs. And, ultimately, you're going to want to make sure that you're profitable, and profitability is as important as cash flow, because at the end of the day, if you increase what you make, you go from $3,000 to $10,000, but you're still breaking even. It's still living paycheck to paycheck at the end of the day, right? So I would say shoot for like 20% margins minimum, and 20% margins being that you're in growth mode, that you're running an operation where you're investing a lot of the money that you make back into the business somehow. And ultimately the path to success, it looks like, getting crystal clear again on who you help and who you specialize in working with. Super important, because you're going to be doing marketing at this point. Getting in marketing systems that deliver leads for you every single day. 20% profit margins, like I already talked about. Business education again, right? Making sure that you understand the fundamentals of how business works. cash flow, financial management, operations, hiring and training a team, all these good things, accounting that people don't always think about. But when you understand how these things work, you can forecast and project into the future in a better way. And then from there, ultimately you want to see you ultimately want to pay yourself a salary. If you're at the $10,000 per month mark at this point, you want to shoot for like 20% of what you make for personal expenses. So, roughly $2,000, maybe $3,000 a month that you allocate toward personal expenses, rent, all that good stuff. Because at the end of the day, you also want to grow your business and you want to enjoy life a little bit. I feel like $2,000, $3,000 a month is reasonable. And at that point, you can pay the rent, you can go off on a vacation every now and then, and just, reward yourself for getting to that point. Okay, now into stage 3. Stage 3 revenue goals, you're at $10,000 to $30,000 per month, and this is where things start to get a little fun, right? You got a little bit more money in the bank, you're able to attract clients a little bit more predictably, and ultimately what the goal is here is you want to be able to systemize every aspect of your business, from what it is that you do at a high level down to the granular detail of how operations work, how you do the marketing, how you follow up with leads, all that good stuff, right? You're going to be wanting to hire, or you've probably already hired an additional staff member too. And ultimately when it comes to this, you're hiring where it hurts, where most of your time is being allocated, that's where you're going to want to hire, right? Where most of your time is being spent, that's not contributing to the $1,000 per hour work, or it's more like the $10 to $100 per hour work, you're going to want to outsource that, right? That's probably going to be training clients or group classes that usually takes up most of an individual's time. And at this point, you're going to be also leading a team, right? It's not just going to be you anymore. So when having a team, you have to be able to set expectations for them. You have to be able to lead them and inspire them to run the business for you. And that comes through the next aspect of things, right? Just developing a vision, mission, and principles for your company, right? This is the foundation to take off and get to that 7-figure per year mark. But it starts with a good foundation of vision. Like, what's the company, what is it ultimately that you're trying to accomplish on a personal and business basis, right? It's far out into the future than the mission, a little bit more immediate and into today. How do you operate your company? What are those principles that are a minimum standard that every trainer, front desk staff, and any other person that works for your team has to be involved in, believe in, and take action on. And ultimately, as you start to scale, you never want to forget about improving the client and member experience, right? You always want to make sure as you start to scale, you also make your product or service better. Because I've seen companies come up that they did really well in the beginning, but they don't focus on making their service better, and it doesn't get better for them. And then they end up going under because their service or product isn't up to par as they continue to grow. And, finally, you're going to want to be focused on scaling up the marketing, the lead generation, the appointments that you generate, because now you have more of a team to be able to handle those lead schedule appointments, maybe have a sales rep, maybe have, a nice workflow of exactly how you go about doing these things, right? And obstacles you're going to face here are basically, understanding and documenting every detail that goes into the business. And what I mean every detail, I mean like literally every detail. Like, how do you greet someone when they walk into, your facility? What exactly do you say when you follow up with a lead? And how long do you follow up with a lead? What's the appointment process like? What's the sales process like? What's the daily operations like in the facility? How is it expected to look? How are trainers expected to teach classes? How are trainers supposed to interact with clients? Like every aspect of it, you want to take some time, maybe take a weekend and literally just sit down and document everything that you do on a daily basis. Write it out onto a piece of paper, and you have your 1.0 version. You have your foundation of exactly what that process is going to look like for your facility. And, at the end of the day, at this point, you're also going to be invested in developing a future for your gym and your facility. A lot of times people, they live in today, which is awesome, but they don't forecast or plan out into the future, and then they get stuck at the $10,000 per month mark consistently, $30,000 per month mark consistently, and they can't transcend beyond. So you as the owner, you have to be thinking about the vision, mission, principles, and the future of the company and the direction, right? And what does success look like at this point? Ultimately, success means being able to hand over the operations to somebody off the street, doesn't have any idea what your business does or how it works, and they can read this manual, they can read this process that's systemized and be able to perform different duties and different responsibilities that other staff members can perform. Like, that's when you do it really well. The training is spot on. People know those expectations. They're being held accountable, and it all starts with, systemizing your process and being laser specific on what expectations are, because sometimes, I hear of people hiring trainers and staff, and they're designated for this role, but then the owner doesn't communicate well, and then there's miscommunication. They know they're supposed to be doing X, but then somehow the owner expects them to also do X and Y, but those things weren't clearly communicated, and that starts with having a proof of concept and systemizing the business on that aspect. And ultimately, you're going to want to hire and train, your committed team, 1 to 2 people, depends on, hiring where it hurts, like I mentioned before. And that's going to be people that are going to be focused on keeping the boat afloat, and you're going to be focused on making the boat faster, right? When you keep the boat afloat, that's like the $10 per hour work, $100 per hour work, teaching classes, helping with cleanup, scheduling appointments, following up with this, following up with billing, right? You get what I'm trying to say there. And at this point, success also looks like scaling the marketing. So as we start to invest more in marketing, we see a proportional increase in the amount of money that's being able to be generated, cash flow, revenues increasing as well, and you're able to handle all these new members, all these new training clients, and systematically grow the business, right? Because the last thing you want to do is, spend $5,000 on marketing and then make, 20, 30 grand in that month, but then you have like 100 new members or something, and then you don't have the staff, and the experience isn't fully there as it was on a smaller scale. And what ends up happening, people end up not liking the experience, and then you end up losing members, and the retention starts going down. All right, so now diving into stage 4. So at stage 4 of the fitness business journey, you're going to be at anywhere between $30,000 to $80,000 per month, right? This is where it gets really fun, and this is where, your sole focus and outcome should be on making your brand, your customer experience, and the vision, mission, and principles of your company your sole priority, right? And at this point, you're going to want to have premium pricing and provide a premium service, because you've differentiated yourself in the market, you've differentiated yourself in what it is that you do and the transformations that you help people achieve, and you're building your brand, right? You're growing a team that can handle operations 24/7, right? You can pay yourself a 6-figure salary at this point, and you're growing your business full time. That's your main priority and focus, and basically you're at 90% capacity with clients and members, and you're ultimately focusing on developing the best product and service, like I mentioned about, and you're removing bottlenecks, aka you, from the business, so that the business can operate without you, 90% of the time, 100% of the time. And you're producing consistent leads, appointments, and sales 24/7, 365. You don't even have to be there. Everything is fully automated and predictable, and what you invest in advertising and marketing and what you're going to get out, plus or minus here and there. And like I mentioned before, ultimately the obstacles are going to be the bottlenecks, fully removing yourself from the operations. And sometimes that's hard to do because you built this baby from the ground up, and you're just like, it's got to be a little bit like this. And ultimately what you don't want to do is you don't want to be a micromanager. You want to set those expectations, be as detailed as possible, but, encourage the heart, encourage people to make things their own, encourage people by leading them and creating individual leaders amongst the people that work with you, because a lot of times when you give people that flexibility with guidelines, you give them flexibility and freedom and creativeness, sometimes they end up creating better things than you could have thought of, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. That's the whole point of a team, right? And ultimately at this point, you're going to want to make sure that you're leading a team with clear expectations and responsibilities, and you, like I mentioned, aren't a manager the whole time, right? And you're ultimately focused on developing a winning culture internally so that you can bring in the best talent, train the best talent, and just transcend to the 7-figure per year business, right? That's ultimately what you're going to want to get to at this point. And success looks like, removing yourself from daily operations. The business is running on autopilot. You have more free time, right? You're developing and leading a team that helps your business grow. The client attraction is spot on. You have a client attraction machine. You can get leads. You can bring people in the door. You can sign them up. Other people can do that for you. You don't even have to do that anymore, right? And, your product and your service, you're focusing on developing this part-time or most of the time. Like, that's where your head's at, really, right? With the occasional checking up and making sure everything's running smoothly. And ultimately at this point, you still want to pay yourself 20 to 30% monthly salary. So what's that? 20% of like 30,000 would be around 6,500, 7,000 something, right? At the lower end, at the higher end, you can start paying yourself a little bit more. And I think, one of the things that I realize is that when people start making a little bit of money, especially if they haven't had any in the past, they start spending it right away, right? Another way to make sure that your business doesn't grow is to take all the money in the business and use it for personal spending. Resist the urge, leave it in there, and once the cash flows are right, once you're consistently making that 30 to 80K a month, then you could slowly start taking a little bit more, but not just pull all out of the business, right? Like anything else, you need cash flow to do cool stuff, to hire people, to run interesting marketing campaigns, to get the best equipment, all that good stuff. And from there, we dive into stage 5, the pinnacle, the top of the stairs, the top of the mountain, the top of Mount Everest. You're doing $80,000 per month or more. Congratulations, you are one of the 1% of individuals who have a 7-figure gym that's profitable, and you are aimed at being number 1 and revolutionizing, the specific niche and fitness that you work with. And the goals here are ultimately to develop independent leaders, right? To recruit the top talent, because your brand is up there. You've elevated yourself to the next level. The business is fully systemized 24/7. In theory, if you didn't want to wake up and go to work and come into the gym, come into the office, that you would still make money that day, and your staff has got everything taken care of, right? And, like I mentioned before, the marketing, the client attraction machine is running 24/7, 365. You have financial independence, and basically you're expanding on your vision and your mission. Now, some of the obstacles that you're going to face when, honestly, even at stage 4, when you're at $30,000 per month, and even more when you get to $80,000 per month and beyond, is actually something that people don't think about, but it's called complacency. Like, once you get to that level, you kind of sometimes lose your fight to have the same hunger like you had when you were at $3,000 a month. You were grinding, you're doing everything you could, because you're not stressed about money, you're not worried about the bills, your gym's running 24/7 on 100%. You got the staff taking care of everything, you're making money, everything's good, you're fulfilled, your clients are getting amazing results, you're the best at what you do, your brand is just getting better and better and better with time. Complacency is the killer of dreams sometimes, right? So the higher that you climb, the harder that's going to be to stay motivated. So you want to find a new level to drive you to get to where you want to be, because it happens to everyone. It's even happened to me at one point where I was coming from the bottom up to getting to the 6-figure mark. I was like, oh, I never imagined this, like I'm good, and it wasn't something I thought about consciously, right? Like I wasn't like, oh, you know what, game over, I'm just gonna sleep in today. It just wasn't as urgent naturally, right? So I had to switch my mindset to stay hungry and focus on a new vision. And ultimately what you're focused on here, and the goals here, one of the goals is expanding on the vision and mission and just becoming number 1, hands down. And obstacles, like I mentioned, complacency, that's going to be leading a team, acting on that long-term vision and mission, and ultimately making sure that you keep your business profitable. And like I mentioned before, last thing you want to do, make money, take it out of the business, and think that it's going to be okay the next month, because that's how people get in trouble, right? I've known and heard of people who made millions of dollars, and fast forward a few years later, they're back to where they started. I would much rather have never gotten to $10 million a year than to get there and then lose it all, right? So always gotta protect the castle, protect the moat, right? And success at this point, it really comes down to 100% independence in the business. Maybe you want to do more locations. You're at 90% capacity. You have an automated revenue producing machine, and you have that strong local authority and brand that keeps growing and growing and gets better with time, right? Like a fine wine. And basically at this point, you're living out your personal and business life goals, right? That is gym nirvana, fitness business nirvana that you ultimately want to aim for. So, this training was a little bit long, but I just wanted to map out the different stages so you can start thinking about, how you're going to transcend to the next level. If you have any comments, any questions, feel free to post them below. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you and, get your 2 cents on everything, right? Cool, everyone. Alan Cortez here signing out. Thank you. Talk to you next time.